to people who were living down it, they very clearly realized that if this situation was allowed to go further, then it will have a very bad and a cascading effect as far as the security of Manipur is concerned. Remember, there was already a lot of protest about the fact that, the 3 Metis youths were abducted and a lot of demands were being made. It had put the state government in a spot of bother, because this tit for tat abduction and then coming up with ransom demand would have unleashed a new level of violence as far as Manipur is concerned. And that is the reason why almost all the agencies, central intelligence agencies, as well as the local state units and police and all, they were trying to broker and trying to ensure that they are able to get the release of the remaining 2 hostages or Metis youths from this abduction. And I think, with the announcement on the social media X platform, this particular announcement by N. Biren Singh has come as a huge sigh of relief for almost everybody in the Manipur, especially, the family of those 2 abducted youth.
Well, we are also joined in by Kartikeya Sharma, Deputy Managing Editor for News9. Kartikeya, this particular fault line was the latest that was there between both the communities. Looks like the government has been able, by ensuring that the youth are returned, they're able to diffuse it to a large extent.
I think first of all, this was a coordinated job that was done by both state and center, and it is for this reason that Biren Singh has said that I congratulate both the central and state police for making it happen. That is number one. And this has come in context of the violence that has taken place in a civil dispute in Ukhrul. And the important part is that at least this is a good news. In the 2 villages of Hampun and Hangpun, which is close to the Ukhrul town, the district headquarters about 80 kilometers northeast of the state capital of Imphal, 3 people were killed in clashes over land dispute. And this was a boundary dispute between the residents of the 2 Naga villages in Ukhrul. And this led to a lot of tension. So I would say, in context of the larger scheme of things or the larger issues that are prevailing, at least there is one good news that has happened. As Brijesh was rightly pointing it out, that this could have unleashed a fresh cycle of violence. This has happened without the exchange of the person whose name had come out, which is also very, very important, because he was arrested by NIA in Delhi and he has been lodged in a jail. Second issue is what sort of demands were met, but I think that can be explored later, because earlier they were demanding that the prisoners from Imphal jail be transferred to Chura Chandpur. Now, why were they demanding the transfer of the convicts in a jail? So the context is that even once the violence had subsided last year, for some time, this demand had come that the cookies who are lodged in certain jails should be sent to Valley. But the point is that you can't even have, you cannot have jail for one community and then you have another jail for another community. So that it would have made things impossible in terms of governance. So in context of what has happened in Manipur yesterday, this is a good news. Now, what sort of demands were met is something which we'll come to know later. But one thing was very, very clear, that when these 3 people were abducted, this was abduction by chance. I can say that these Kuki village force volunteers who were there, they had no idea that these 3 people would be taking this national highway. It's pretty clear. They were supposed to be on the national highway Jiribam NH37. They took NH2, which actually took them to the northern parts, and they went to Kangpokpi. And in Kangpokpi, they were actually stopped by women. And one was supposed to appear for a paramilitary recruitment exam. 2 had gone to see how the recruitment takes place. So when the negotiations took place, Varghese, the first person was immediately released, and then somehow the demands came. But for it to end in 7 days, which is a week's time, is a pretty good thing, because the more it would have got prolonged, the bigger forces would have come into picture. And when I say bigger forces would have come into picture, I say that people who had nothing to do with this abduction, kidnapping, would have started to claim the story. They perhaps, these people would have disappeared to other areas. They would have become symbolic prisoners, and this would have become a deep wound in Manipur. So in a way, this quick resolution of the crisis is very good because Chief Minister will now be able to assuage the feeling of the majority community. But I don't think the work has stopped because, before you asked me the question, that it's a good thing, and I said, yes, it's a very good thing. But the problem doesn't seem to end. And, there was, and when I say that this in Ukhrul district, this violence took place in which 3 people were killed, and the gunfight had taken place. This violent clash was linked to the disagreement over the government's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan initiative on the disputed site. So imagine, even during a Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, you can have this gunfighting that takes place. And this time, it belongs to a different community. The issue concerns a different community. The situation is fragile in Manipur. The situation is not at all easy in Manipur. So as I always say in my program, that what we call peace is when the guns go silent. What we call peace in Manipur is when there is no actually a bullet incident that doesn't happen. So that is the normal. That's the new normal. For the peace, the entire the valley and the hill area needs to be completely de-weaponized. These volunteer forces, whether from the Meiteis, whether from the Kukis, which are armed, these armed volunteer forces of Meiteis and Kukis must be demobilized. That really needs to happen. I believe that, you cannot carve out a union territory of from Manipur. It's unacceptable. But the hill areas needs to get more autonomy. The forces, the mixture of, the force has to change so that the movement of people between hill and the valley area needs to take place. This boundary needs to be dissolved. There are 60,000 IDPs in the camps. They need to go home. I think that would, once that happens, I would say some sort of normalcy has returned. The Kuki should feel safe in the valley, and the Meiteis should feel safe in the Kuki areas. So this area domination thing between 2 communities must need to end. And this is a very distinct theater of violence. This is not Punjab and Kashmir, where outsiders were directly involved with pinch of terrorists, radicalizing a part of the community and perpetrating terror acts of terrorism. In this, the entire communities have become mobilized, which becomes very, very difficult for our security forces. I mean to say, whether it's Manipur Police, Assam Rifles, there's no difference in Assam Rifles and Indian Army, though, because it's commanded by the men of Indian Army, CRPF. The tough part for them is that the entire communities are involved. So in this context, it becomes difficult, but it's a commendable job that has been done by the Manipur government, that they have been able to resolve this crisis and fix it. Varghese, if Brijesh can listen to me, I have a question for him. Brijesh, my question is, do we have any idea right now in terms of what sort of exchange that might have taken place?
Coming out from any authority per se as we speak. But, there are reports in the media outlets. We do not substantiate it till it comes from official, because one of the biggest, casualty of any ethnic clashes and all, and as we have been discussing it so many times, is misinformation. So we clearly refrain from speculating on any such situation, but there are media reports which are pointing to the fact that some sort of exchange might have happened. Some sort of Kuki prisoners or people might have been released or transferred, but there is no, solid information, or there is no certain proof that this has actually happened. I guess in another couple of hours or an hour's time, a situation will be a lot more clearer as to how this exchange was facilitated, how this release was facilitated, and who all have been exchanged or what all demands have been met. But as I said, it's a good day for the state of Manipur, because the concretization of both sides, as far as calling for band, as people asking for a tit for tat retaliation, this would have gone down a path, which nobody in the security agencies or anybody in the state administration would have wanted. And that is the reason why this has been a good day as far as the state of Manipur is concerned. A release has been obtained, and it'll be interesting to see, as to how this release was obtained and what all, the givens as far as the state government is concerned. was done to ensure this safe passage or safe release of these two hostages. Karthikeyan?
I completely agree, Brijesh, that some sort of exchange would have definitely happened. I know the media reports you are referring to. I understand that. We will not run it on the channel till it is substantiated by the government. Couple of media houses are running of some sort of an exchange that has taken place. I'm not going to talk about the nature of it. Yes, but there is some sort of an exchange, give and take. I think that's a correct word that has taken. Now, in fact, what one of the media houses reporting in terms of men, the exchange. So that means those reports need to be verified. What sort of exchange that have taken place? But we will not run it on the channel till it officially comes from the government. So, but then I'm sure that some sort of a give and take would have been there. Now, in this context, we will have to wait and see that I hope in this give and take, life is more important. There's no doubt about it. The life of people are more important. It's easier to sit inside AC rooms and say that, nothing should lead to the compromise of the security gate. But there's another issue also, Brijesh, that in case if the give and take is there, it would also be akin to like tasting some sort of a success, and for which don't you think that the security agencies now will have to prepare that kidnapping will become part of Manipur theatre, a new reality?
Karthikeyan, this is something which we have been discussed, and I have said it several times on our show. The fact is that yes, what was the most worrying aspect of this entire hostage crisis was this is a low effort but high yielding operation which is there. You don't have to indulge into killing and all, but if you are able to abduct one or two or three people, then you are in a position to negotiate or arm twist the government. And that is the reason why, in majority of the states, they have a zero negotiation or hostage release based on certain negotiations or give and take is strictly followed, because they know it's a very downhill path, and there is no way, the government is going to extricate itself. And that is the reason why I fear that, if the government is able to, make sure that this remains a one-off incident and other ethnicity or other sides also do not indulge into this, I think this will be one of the biggest achievement of the state government and the central forces in the last 6 months or 8 months. Because if this gains currency, or if there is indeed an exchange of prisoners or acceptance of some demand and all, then it becomes a very tempting template for others to follow. And this is where the real challenge for the state government would lie. They would want to make sure that there is no such template being followed by any other ethnicity, and they would like to see that whosoever has indulged in this kind of act, the law catches up to him. But this cannot go on unpunished, because if it goes unpunished, then it sends a very wrong signal to the other outfit. As you rightly pointed out, and we have also mentioned it several times, we are not carrying any information which is unsubstantiated. By unsubstantiated, I mean which has not come from official government sources. But yes, there are media reports which are talking about some sort of exchange, being done. We don't know whether the exchange means that prisoners have been transferred. We don't know exchange means who all has been released, or whether this has actually happened or not. So we are going to refrain from commenting upon it, because it's a security matter, and it's part of our commitment to Manipur that irrespective of the temptation of the clickbait journalism that many follow, we would stick to the time-tested standard procedures. We are not going to be part of any of these misinformation or such situation in the state of Manipur. So we'll wait for the official version to come out about the nitty-gritties of this exchange, of how this exchange was facilitated, who all facilitated it, and whether any kind of exchange and all has taken place. But overall, I would say that this release has come at a very good time, because yesterday we saw that Imphal Bandh was called, and the CSOs have said that till this release was done, no movement of traffic and vehicular traffic and others will be allowed on this couple of NHs, and that is, how it is debilitating as far as the people of Manipur is concerned.
Varghese, what Brijesh is saying is correct, that what have been the modalities in context of the release of these two people, there will have to be some sort of action, because always remember, hijacking and kidnapping is always the first in any theatre. Then it acquires a monstrous proportion. You can hijack a bus, you can hijack a train, you can hijack a scooter. point is that when you start, when the civilians become directly, it's not as if civilians are not part of the cycle of violence. They have been the victim. But when this part of warfare becomes prominent, then it becomes very difficult for the state, because hostage taking is the toughest part when it comes to negotiating. It becomes life versus national security. So yes, it's going to be a very tough call in future. Crackdown will be required for those who have done it. Right now, it's really success for Biren Singh.
Well, thank you, Kartikeya Sharma, as well as Brajesh Pandey, for joining us as we, in fact, give you the big story coming in from Manipur, where CM Biren Singh has announced the return of 2 men who were abducted from Kanghopi, and they have been returned to Manipur police security. As far as we know right now, this is the tweet that's come in, and it's been considered as a welcome step. Well, with that, we in fact come to the end of this bulletin, but stay tuned to News9 for further news updates.
It's said that out of 7 diamonds across the world, 5 are cut and polished in India.
Don't forget, US is the largest consumer of, polished diamonds and the diamond jewelry. And that has taken a big beating for multiple reasons, but largely because of the consumer spending going down on these items. And that's essentially what has hit the diamond industry.
We are at a brim where you see not just